Jay Horton, man, he's done a lot of great independent films, and he also does an amazing YouTube channel where he discusses the practical method of making films. I'm very excited to introduce him to you guys on this next episode of Pollute Your Soul. Welcome to the podcast here on Pollute Your Soul. We're here with Jay Horton, a filmmaker, among other talents. Thank you for joining the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my God, I'm smiling so much right now. It's just I smile when I'm uncomfortable and nervous, or just happy. So it's one of those three. Who knows? What's going on? You're working on A Hard Place. What can we expect from that? I'm really excited for that one.
Hard Place is dude, it's a crazy movie. It's probably the wildest thing I've ever made.
Nice.
It's a really odd tone. It's got funny bits, but it's also suspenseful. It's got these like two different species of monsters fighting, and these like criminals caught up in the middle of it. It just especially compared to a lot of my my other work, this thing it moves like straight from the beginning. It's just like a roller coaster, just moves really, really fast paced.
Yeah, that's good because pacing is very important, and I just had a whole conversation with a musician about the decline of rock operas or because of the attention span. So I bet people are gonna like that, and I like that's why some filmmakers I kind of pay attention to more, because if you watch an Edgar Wright movie, the pacing's perfect.
Yeah, it clips. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. You're doing some plant stuff with are you gonna save the creatures for the movie, or maybe could you give us a teaser of what the creature's gonna be like?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk a little bit about them. It's two different species of monsters. There's these plant-like monsters, and then there's these more reptilian-like monsters. And basically, in the movie, somebody refers to them as the creatures that rule the day and the monsters that rule the night. So the reptiles are kind of night-based monsters, and the plants are more there in the day. And so, the movie, it starts out, of course, in the daytime, and, you have the plants are besieging our main characters. Then at a certain point, you reveal the reptiles, and then it goes nighttime. And then there's a big climax during a solar eclipse where they can both be at full power. So it's wacky. It sounds really convoluted, but it's not. It's a really simple, just people, wrong place, wrong time, hunted down by monsters.
Yeah.
But I when I'm doing independent stuff, horror movies, it's both a strength and a weakness. I always try to do something a little bit bigger than what I can afford.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always work out, but when it does, it's it could be something special. I just don't have an interest in making small scale things anymore. So I really, I don't have, I like watching smaller movies, but I don't have an interest in directing a 2 or 3 person thriller in a cabin. It just doesn't appeal to me. I want a big cast and action and lots of blood and monsters, and I like doing crazy big stuff as far as my narratives go.
Yeah, because you did I would say more intimate films for a decent amount of time.
Sure.
Films like Pastor Shirley and stuff like that. More I would say more character based, and not so much about the set, and more about the relationships between the characters. And they made for pretty good movies, but
Yeah, no, totally. And I still like to do character-based stuff, but I just like putting those characters in a bigger
Yeah.
like milieu now. I just like I said, I did a lot of the, 2, 3 character movies and and they're fine and I like doing them and I still like watching them, but like when I get onto a set, like one of my favorite things is to work with actors. So like I like a bunch of actors, like different
Yeah.
actors, different styles and and right now anyway I'm just and I it may change in a year or two, but like right now I'm really digging doing the monster thing. So I did Craving, A Hard Place was another monster movie, following that up, and then I have another one even bigger that we're working on to start next year, and like kind of my monster movie trilogy.
Nice. Yeah. Boxer
Yeah.
Jay Horton. What's it called? The Infatuated with Monsters also bleeds into your documentaries. Like
Mm.
Loch Ness one was dope. A lot of Bigfoot stuff as well, and aliens.
Yeah.
Talk about like when your documentary journey kind of started, and how you kind of started to choose topics like that to do
Sure.
documentaries on.
Sure. Well, I got into documentaries. It's kind of a weird thing. I was doing narratives for the first 10 years of my career, like just narrative movies, all different genres, but just narratives. And I was getting to a spot around 2017 where, like in general, the movies weren't making as much. It's like
Yeah.
you were spent, like I would spend, almost a year, between shooting and editing, a feature narrative. And sometimes they would work out and make good money, sometimes they wouldn't. And somebody suggested to me, because I have such a background in editing and documentaries are really made in edit, like you should try documentaries. And I was like, I resisted it. I don't really have an interest in that. I like watching them, but I don't want to make
Yeah.
them. And I had a really bad production experience on a movie called The Campus, which
Mm.
I've talked Death Day. I've talked about it on my channel a bunch. It was just a really really bad experience. The shoot, the distribution, like everything, and I was almost ready to just quit filmmaking after that, and I reconsidered the documentary thing, and
Mm.
so I started out just doing documentaries on stuff that I kind of subjects I had access to. So I think my first documentary was a dog rescue documentary. I knew
Yeah.
a lady that owned a rescue in Vegas, and she had kind of a cool story. So I went down, interviewed her for like 3 days, and all the people that worked at her shelter, and I put that together in like I want to say 2 or 3 weeks. Like I really like just bulldoze through it and put it out, and it didn't do like gangbusters, but it was making like 1,000 a month. And I was thinking, shit, I did this in 3 weeks, I can make $1,000 a month on it. Like if I do a bunch of these, like that could be something.
Yeah.
And through the process of doing it, I realized that, man, I really I like talking to people. So like I really liked the interview process. Like I learned all this stuff. I known this woman for a while, but I learned all these cool things about her I didn't know. I learned a lot about the business. I knew nothing about dog rescues. I'm an animal lover, but I didn't know nothing about dog rescues. So I was like, this is really cool. So then I was like, what else can I do? And I had a friend who's in the cannabis industry. So I did a couple of like cannabis versus cancer
Yeah. That was a good
documentaries with
one.
him. And then he wanted to do a Bigfoot thing, and I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, dude, I mean, I'll be straight up. I don't believe in Bigfoot. I have no real interest in Bigfoot. But what I love about documentaries is like it's not necessarily about what it's about. It's about the people, you know.
Yeah.
So like
Definitely. Yeah. The
so
interviews.
yeah, so I'm interested in people that believe in Bigfoot. I'm like, why, why do they believe, and and how passionate they are, and and I don't like to do like gotcha, documentaries. Like I try to do non-exploitive, like just study the subject, find out what makes the people tick, and without making fun of them or glorifying them or anything like that. And I think that like the Bigfoot one anyway, the first one we did, it really resonated, and it made decent money. And then I was like, oh, so we did more of those, and we did some UFO ones, and we've done psychedelic medicine. We just did a diet documentary that did really well.
Mm.
But the really cool thing about doing documentaries for me is like I said, I can do them very cheap. I have the gear, I have the, camera and lights, I can edit myself. So like I can do one of these practically for free, unless I have to pay for an interview or something, like no cost. And there's not much time commitment. So I'm like, shoot, there was between 2019 and like 2021, I mean, I was doing like 12 or 13 a year. Like I was knocking them out, just like bam, 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 bam. And I didn't make too many narratives in that period. Actually, I don't think I made any. And then that afforded me is like money started rolling in. So now I'm kind of like, oh gosh, well now I can take 6 months or 7 months and make a narrative feature and make it for more money than what I usually did. I can make them for 100,000 or 120,000. And if it doesn't do quite as well, it doesn't, I have my day job income from the documentaries. So like
Yeah.
that's why I continue to do them, because like that's pretty much like the bulk of my income comes in through there. And then I do like, my passion stuff, my narratives, like once a year, once every other year. And I try to, spend more time and do a bigger scale project.
Definitely, yeah, and there's a lot of opportunity with documentaries related to the guests. Like I work at an art house theater in Wilmington, Delaware, and somebody did a documentary there about mental health and also how it affected the local community. So we had a senator come in that's from, because she was in the documentary. She happened to be the guy who made the documentary's neighbor. So, and she was in the documentary. She talked a lot about mental health. And they did a Q&A premiere at the theater. A lot of people popped out. And there was great stuff people got to learn about how their community is combating mental health crises. And it was just an overall beautiful experience.
Totally. And like the cannabis and cancer thing I did, we had like people on that like saying that, it changed their perspective. It made their, dealing with their cancer and stuff like that, easier. And, like they found it helpful, or the diet documentary we just did, I get a lot of cool, like, reaffirming stuff based on that. And like, that feels really, because that's different than making a narrative. When you make a narrative, you can, you entertain people, maybe you'll inspire somebody, but like with a documentary, like you're literally sometimes giving like life-saving information or life-changing information, like that can be really cool. It's the same reason I really dig doing the filmmaking YouTube channel. Like I've kind of pared back on it the last year, but like, hearing from other filmmakers and how, grateful they are for the information and stuff like that. Like that feels good in a way that, making narratives, you don't get the same thing. You get a different type of pleasure from that,
Yeah, more related to like the story and the entertainment and a lot of other things. You also stated that with the narratives, you love working with actors, and it sounds like you love working with the interview subjects just as much as the actors. Like, how did you start to like get an idea like how to work with actors, and how did you kind of develop the skills needed to kind of get what a director needs out of an actor?
I mean, honestly, it wasn't one thing. It was like, it was a culmination of just like doing it so long. Like, when I started, I made my first movie in 2003, I think. And I honestly wasn't very good at it. I didn't know what I was doing or how to talk to them. And I kind of learned a little bit here, a little bit there, moving on. I took some acting classes in college that helped with that a little bit. But really, I think my biggest thing was and this has helped me in a lot of different avenues. When I first started thinking of movies as something that wasn't just for me, like it wasn't all about me anymore. Like it's about the group, or it's about the audience, or it's about the actors. And I started really listening to my collaborators and the actors I was working with. Like that really like opened it up. I'd read all the directing actor books, and all the tricks and hacks, but I didn't, and I followed them, but I didn't really fully understand them until I really started putting myself in a mindset of being more of service than of people servicing me. Like I stopped being more like narcissistic and selfish as a filmmaker. And I was like, when I started making movies, it was about me. I wanted to be Quentin Tarantino, and I wanted to go to Sundance, and, this was about my movie, and, and that was that. And, I'd be lying if I said there's not an aspect of that, that still exists within me, but it's not like nearly as strong as it was when I started.
Yeah, the beauty of kind of doing a film is that it's not like it's so much like you're playing street basketball or something like that. Like you're like playing football like as a kid, or playing baseball, or just or going to like debate club. Like it's kind of a group effort at first, where you kind of, when you're younger, kind of like getting into it, you're like, it's originally like, I want to be famous, I want to do this. But then when you kind of start to meet people and understand people, like how did they get, I remember I was a production assistant, and this lady told me about how she got into acting after her husband died. Because she told me, she was like, I know my husband would kind of wanted me to follow my dreams, and even if I'm still working a normal job, I still am trying to follow my dreams, and it's definitely helped me like cope with the loss of like her lifelong partner. And it's just like hearing stories like that just like keep me going. It's not like here's orders. It's not like the military for real. It's like a joint effort.
Yeah, totally. I mean, making movies it's a collaboration, and there's so many different, aspects to it, and different artists, and depending on the size of the movie, like different, department heads and stuff like that. And, and I still like, I can still do like a one-man band thing. Like when I do documentaries, I mean, I do have people that shoot for me sometimes. They'll go out and I'll write the questions. Sometimes they'll shoot the interviews. But, for the most part though, like I can do it all, and do, and then to get my collaboration fix, I go do narratives.
Definitely. You spoke on the bad experience with the campus. I've kind of seen a lot of things recently online about Film Hub and other things. Not like I've seen a lot of like and Distribber. I had an interview with somebody about Distribber, I think is what the old company was.
Yeah.
Why do you think like there's predatory distributors, and how have you seen that kind of evolve, and what do you think is the best solution for filmmakers? Because
So my take on the predatory distributor thing, and it's not a popular one amongst filmmakers. And I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not saying that predatory distributors don't exist. They do. They're out there, but it's not nearly as prevalent as what some filmmakers will lead you to believe. Like 90% of the time or higher, when a movie's not making money, it's not the distributor's fault. It's it's the film. And I'm sorry, nobody wants to hear that, but and it doesn't always have to do with quality. Sometimes the movie just doesn't hit, and overall, more movies fail than succeed. So as more and more people are making movies and they're getting out into the marketplace, you're getting all these people that are saying, oh, I gave my movie to such and such distributor and it didn't make any money. Oh, I did too, and it didn't make any money. Well, you know what? Like 70% of movies that get made don't make any money, regardless of what they do in distribution. So, I mean, yes, you can get tied up and, get a bad deal. I mean, I got screwed on my second movie. I went with Shoreline Entertainment. They're a sales rep, and they sold it to Lionsgate. Dude, this was back in 2008. It was on Blockbuster shelves and Hollywood Video, like line the shelves. First quarter, that movie sold over 100. No, I'm sorry, I'm exaggerating. About $90,000 of sales, for a movie that was made for like $20K. And I saw nothing of that. None of it. Like the distributor, they bullshitted about sales fees and, market fees and blah, 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 and this and percent of that, and like nothing. Like I finally started seeing money on that like 6 years later, like $1,000 here, $1,000 there. But, so they exist. You can get screwed, but it's not, now there's places like, distributors like Indie Rights or like Film Hub. And, I know there's some negative stuff people are saying about Film Hub right now, but mostly that stems from a misunderstanding of what they actually are and do. They're fucking legit, man. And like they pay and they pay on time and you can trust it. Same thing with Indie Rights. And there's a bunch of other distributors too, like that. And so my take on it, I don't think it's as big an issue as what people make it out to be. They're out there. There's bad ones. Green Apple Entertainment. There's bad distributors, but like by and large, I don't think people are out to rip us off. They're not out there. Everybody's out to make money. And if the distributor makes money, the movie makes money, everybody's happy. Like there's in most of these movies that people say they're getting ripped off on, the movies just aren't making nothing. I mean, there are movies out there that are literally making pennies, like pennies, a month, and then there's others that make $100,000 a month, and you just don't know. But the knee-jerk reaction to automatically blame it on the distributor, I'm kind of like, I don't know. This is what I'll say. I had more of that mindset earlier in my career. And when I let that go and started being more like, I don't know, zen about it, like things worked out better for me. I don't worry about that kind of stuff anymore. I have a couple of distributors that I work with that I trust. I go back to them. I'm totally fine with it. Sometimes the movies make money, sometimes they don't. And I just go to another one and another one and another one. And I make a pretty good living doing it. And it's by continuing to do it and not worrying about the things that I can't control. That's kind of my take on it.
That's a good take, because like I always see all this kind of like there's no DistroKid like music industry, but then again it's like if you put out a song on DistroKid and it's on Spotify, nobody is gonna listen to it unless you like properly market it and do shit in person. Yeah. like with the local like open mic scene near me, that's kind of how you put your music out. You go to open mics. You get out there, you tell people like, yo, like just drop the album, here's like this, that, and the third, or you just straight up pass out flyers for it. That's the type of energy you need. Like there's this kind of concept of like letting the distributor handle like the marketing and stuff, and it's like, no, like, first off, learn, this is like shit you learn after making a pretty decent enough movie. But let's get back to the earlier days. Did you start with a feature or did you start with shorts? Like, how did that kind of go?
I started with a feature. So this was, like I said, I think it was 2003. The Panasonic DVX 100 had just come out. It was the first prosumer camera to be able to shoot digitally at 24 frames a second. So we were just like, oh, now we can shoot like film. But I was in undergrad, like film school, and me and a couple of friends just decided like we're gonna make a movie, and we did that summer. Basically, I saved up money. I was working at Starbucks at the time, and I used a little bit of my grant money from college, and my friend put in a little bit. I think our budget was like $4,000 or $5,000, something like that. It took us about a year to save it up, but we did. And then that summer we shot the movie, like, wrote the script, me and my friend, and then made the movie. I think we shot it in, I don't remember now. I think it was like 8 days or something like that. We did that in New Orleans, and I had no idea like how to sell a movie or anything, but just, I went online, I Googled, independent film horror distributors, something like that, and started finding people that put out low budget movies, and I just started emailing people, and I probably sent a dozen emails. I heard back from 3 distributors. 2 passed and 1 took it. It was York Entertainment that took it, and they are a classic predatory distributor. So that movie. Now, granted, I don't think the movie made much money either way, but I never saw nothing from them. I think they're out of business now. Yeah.
What film school did you go to? That's crazy. I forgot. I didn't know you went to film school. I'm going to film school. I'm not like anti film school. But what film school did you go to?
Yeah, University of New Orleans. I mean, it's a state school. They don't, you can't like major in it or anything there, but they have a really nice like hands-on, or at least they did, film program. I haven't been back there in 15 years, so I don't know what's going on now. But it was when I was there, it was good. You get hands-on, like as an undergrad, you could get your hands on cameras and stuff. Like it was pretty cool. I liked the program. I mean, I'm not really working with anybody from those days anymore, but I'm glad I went.
You do a lot of videos like raising money for movies, and you do talk a lot about crowdfunding. I want to ask you kind of, I don't know if anybody really asked you this, but like, what's like the best way to raise money for a movie without crowdfunding? Because I'm not shitting on crowdfunding. I'm literally about to do that for my next movie. But
Yeah, yeah. No, I know.
yeah.
No, yeah, crowdfunding a movie is a whole different thing, and it affects the type of movie you're making, So, traditional funding is still kind of the best way to do it if you can find it. Although there's also a moral kind of imperative with traditional funding now too. So I said earlier, I don't have much interest in making, like smaller scale movies anymore. So my budgets, I'm not too interested in doing anything under $100,000, so if I go out and find $100,000 of traditional funding, like that money has to get paid back. Like somebody's putting that up. And usually the kind of people that invest in smaller movies, like $100,000 movies, are not super rich people. Like they're not, so like if somebody invests 20 or $30,000 into a movie, chances are they probably need that back, and so
Yeah.
like, I feel a moral responsibility to return some, at least some of that money. I said I had the bad thing with campus. That was part of that. We had almost $40,000 in equity in that movie that will never get paid back. The movie just will not make that money.
Why
And
is that?
I mean, different things, bad distribution. The movie didn't turn out as good as it should have. A bunch of things. I have like a 40-minute video on my channel that goes into that. I've grown tired of going over it. It's
Oh
such a
yeah.
sore spot. Yeah. But
Yeah.
but anyway, traditional funding, um there's no magic to it. Like everybody thinks there's like some like magic pool of people, there's somewhere you go, or you need to know some trick. Like there's no trick, man. It's literally just asking for the money, finding people with the money and asking them for it. Like when I did my second movie, Edges of Darkness, I was camera opping for a like this comedy documentary thing, and the guy that was EPing it was just starting, wanted to produce independent films, and I was just talking to the guy on set, and he's like, "Oh, I was doing that." He's, "Oh, I just finished a horror film, and I made it for $5,000." And it's like, I'd love to. He's like, "Do you have a zombie movie?" And I was like, "Well, I don't have a zombie script, but I could write one." And he was like, "Yeah, write a zombie script." So I wrote a zombie script for this dude. And 3 or 4 weeks later, we're making a $25,000 little zombie movie. And it was just a guy I met on set. And then when I did my first movie, I met a guy that was producing a bigger vampire movie that never happened there, and just met him like at a bar or something. We were just hit it off and we're talking, and he lived in LA. And when I moved to LA, I hit him up, and I was like, we talked back and forth, and we never really worked on nothing together. We just every so often would have lunch, and it kept on. And like 6 or 7 years later, this dude puts $35,000 into Monsters in the Woods, or 20,000 was his investment. But you know what I mean? It was a relation. It was a long-term, like long game
Yeah.
relation, and then, on, campus, we found, like the DP knew a wealthy individual like in Ohio or something. And like that guy put in 20 grand. We found another like 10 or 15 people that all put in like 1,000 or 2,000, almost crowdfunding
Yeah.
style, but not really. It was all traditional investments.
Yeah.
So it's always been like that. And then, I got to a spot where, if I couldn't find the money, I could put in a little bit of my own, or, I could turn to crowdfunding. And the reason that I really turned to crowdfunding on these last two is like I said, I want to make a movie that's, $100,000 or close to it or over. And, in the marketplace, it's not always easy to return that money. And it's hard to look somebody in the face and say, there's a very good chance you're going to make a bunch of money on this, and you're going to get your money back, and the odds are they won't. So with crowdfunding, you could raise $100,000, you don't have to pay any of that back. It's like that's and then you can raise some equity on top of that you pay back. Like on Craving, we raised, I think, 15 or 20,000 on top of what we crowdfunded, and that 20,000 was the first money to get paid back, but the movie only had to make $20,000 to be profitable. A Hard Place, we're at, I think, 150 with equity and crowdfunding, and we'll have to make, I think, 30 to be in profits. And if Craving did it, this one will do it very easily. So it's like that just seems to be a more sure way to ensure that the movie gets finished, that the investors get paid back, and everybody's happy financially. So like that's kind of why the next one I'm doing next year will most likely be crowdfunded.
And you get to build a fan base around it, because like,
yep.
they kind of underestimate. I mean, you don't have to build like some giant cult like fan base, but it certainly helps a film be made, and following is always good. I mean, if you want that movie to be seen, you gotta build some sort of like following or become a thought leader in another space. And I'm directly pulling that from Indie Film Hustle's book because I'm listening to it right now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, like Alex. The other thing about crowdfunding is it really teaches you how to market. And like marketing a crowdfunder is no different than marketing a movie when it comes out. You're just trying to get people to go to do a thing, to take an action on a site. It's marketing is marketing. And like if you can successfully raise some money or a decent amount of money in crowdfunding, you can successfully market a movie. It's the same thing. Like so right around campus time, I had considered crowdfunding that movie, and I took a course. It was the Kickstarter guy, Justin Giddings, and I think it was not a cheap course. I think I paid like $2,000 for it, right? And I decided we ended up finding the money, so I never did the crowdfunder. But I'll tell you what, dude, that course was worth every penny. Because like on my channel, I've done all these, marketing and, distribution videos. This is how you market. These are the tricks of marketing. A good chunk of that came from that class, or stuff that I learned, from jumping off from that class. Yeah. Because crowdfunding is marketing, and he was just like breaking down like step by step the brass tacks of how you market, how you build an audience. And I was like, dang, it changed my entire outlook in filmmaking. Like I owe a lot to that. Like that was around, I think, 2017 when I did that. And like I started the YouTube channel a little bit after that, and then I started crowdfunding movies like a year or two after that. Like, and all of that, that's where it started, through that marketing education in that crowdfunding class. I still have it. I still have the videos.
I'm gonna hit you up after. No, I'm fine. But the thing you do with like the small videos and the posts and stuff, like I'm gonna keep you being like I just started watching Craving last night because I saw some like small posts about it. Yeah, so like where did you get the idea for Craving, and what kind of themes are you trying to communicate with the addictive related characters? I really think that was cleverly put in. Was it like a personal experience, or was it kind of just interesting kind of?
The drug thing comes from like personal. I've never been a heroin user, but I was, especially in my young age, it was like meth was a big thing where I grew up. So like I grew up around a lot of it. I did a little of it, but I was never like like strung out on it. But yeah. So, and I've had a lot of addiction in my family. So like that always kind of meant a little something to me. And then this is Craving's an old script. Like I think I wrote it in like 2010 or something like that, the original draft of it. And it was called, what was it called? Feud or something like that. I don't remember. But Honestly, it was initially story wise, it was totally inspired by. I was just a huge. I see the poster on your wall, From Dusk Till Dawn fan. Like I fucking love From Dusk Till Dawn. So like, I really like, I really like horror movies that feature like criminals, because it's like what I like about it is you have these people that are operating outside of society, right? So they can't necessarily count on the safeguards that society has in place. Like the police, they can't count on the police to come save them. Like stuff like that. Like they're completely on their own, and they have a set of skills which like lends itself to whatever, dealing with monsters or whatnot. And there's also a cool thing seeing like kind of like badass like characters, or characters that are like tough, but then dealing with something that is much like tougher, like exponentially so like so that was like the initial like idea. And then I had like the drug themes from Personal, and then I just started like putting it together, and then finished the script. And it was like I think at the time we were trying to raise like 500,000 for it. I'd attached actors to it at different times. Like at one point we had Michael Madsen, and like Ving Rhames was attached. Or I'm sorry, Ving Rhames was not attached. He was interested, but we didn't actually have him signed on. But we had Madsen. We had Robin Givens was going to play the Gale role, and oh man, I can't remember who else. We had different people, but it never solidified. I never could get the money for it, and then I just kind of put it on a shelf. And then when I decided in like I think it was 2020, I'd done a ton of docs, and I was starting to get itchy to do another narrative. And I was like, what do I want to do? And I've learned all this stuff about like fundraising and marketing and crowdfunding. It's like, I think I could raise 50,000 crowdfunding. So I was like, I'm gonna try that. So I picked that script and did a crowdfunder for it, and I think we raised 70,000 in the crowdfunder, and then raised another 20 in equity. So it was like right around 90, somewhere between 90 and 100,000. And I was like, yeah, I'll try it. And it wasn't really enough, but it's still it turned out fun.
Hearing people talk about From Dusk Till Dawn is always entertaining, because a lot of people have different experiences. I kind of knew something was in it, like somehow there was like vampires in it, but I remember showing it to my friends, and they were like, "What the fuck?" Like in the middle of the they're like, "Yo!" Like first off, Salma Hayek, and then that honestly, like that's his magnum opus in my opinion. I mean,
100%. I don't think he's ever been better as a director ever. Like that was it. He was kind of, in my opinion anyway, he was kind of downhill after that. But I loved his take on From Dusk Till Dawn. Like Tarantino couldn't have directed that with the same gusto, you know what I mean? And I like both parts of it equally. I mean, that first hour is a great crime thriller, and then it turns into insanity, vampire monster stuff, and both are fun, and George Clooney was just so damn cool in that, really inspired by that.
Yeah, he was like the manifestation of cool.
100%. Yeah.
But thank you for coming on the show. Do you have any announcements at all about your films or work before we wrap this up?
Not really, man. You can find most everything I done on, Tubi or Amazon or YouTube. I get paid on all of them. So, check it out.
Yeah, go check out his social media. And if you're an aspiring filmmaker, I would most definitely recommend checking out Mr. Horton's videos. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And once again, thank you for joining the show.